So good afternoon, everybody, and good morning, everybody who are joining from the Netherlands. I would like to welcome you all. My name is Adiba, and I'm the Knowledge Community Officer at Nuffic Neso. I will also be the moderator for today's session. I hope you can hear my sound clearly. But welcome everybody to the 5th info session of the OKP-LPDP StuNed Joint Scholarship. This info session is in particular about the Public Health Management Program of the KIT Royal Tropical Institute in Amsterdam. And the OKP-LPDP StuNed Joint Scholarship has been open for application since last Monday, the 20th of February, and it is open for applications until 30 March. And the scholarship is meant for Indonesian mid-career professionals who would like to pursue their master's degree at one of the Dutch higher education institutes that participate in this program, and one of the participating Dutch higher education institutions is the KIT Royal Tropical Institute. And to provide more information for future students who would like to pursue their master's in public health management at KIT, we organized this info session today. So for today, we have 3 people joining us from KIT, which are Herman Ormel, the Master Program Director. We also have Fernando Maldonado, the Master Program Coordinator, and then also Maud Molenaar, she is also from KIT. So welcome, the 3 of you. So during this session, you can ask all of your questions regarding the Master Program in the chat box. You can drop them just in the chat box, and then after the presentation is over, we will have a Q&A session, and we'll do our best to discuss and answer all of your questions. So without further ado, I would like to present to you Herman and Fernando, who will give the presentation. The floor is yours.
Terima kasih banyak Ibu Adiba. Apa kabar Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu-Ibu? Selamat datang untuk program KIT. And this is as much I will do in Bahasa. Welcome to this session. My colleague Fernando Maldonado is here. We are having our colleague Maud here, who's of the administration side, who can answer questions. And we're happy to have you online to listen to what we want to present. A few minutes presentation, maybe 20 minutes, and then there's time for questions. And my name is Herman Ormel, and I'm indeed the program director. Shall we try to share the screen? And I hope everybody can see the screen. Bu Adiba, could you confirm you can see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yeah.
Wonderful. So basically, our presentation is about the 2 master courses available at KIT for LPDP applicants, OKP-LPDP applicants. The Master of Science in Public Health on the Health Systems Policy and Management track, and the Master of Science in International Health. And both of them are focusing on improving health equity. A bit about KIT, and for the first part, I'd like to give the floor to my colleague Fernando.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, but for you it's good afternoon already. To everybody, my name is Fernando Maldonado. Indeed, I'm one of the master program coordinators here. I coordinate the Master in International Health. So nice to have this opportunity to talk to you. First, I was given this opportunity to talk a little bit about KIT. So maybe some of you know about our institution, maybe some of you not. So a few slides about us. This is a photo of the campus, the building. Our institute is located in Amsterdam. And this is a huge building, but actually we are not using the whole building for the education program. In this building, you have also a museum. In the past, there was a theater, and it was a big institute that comprised many different units. If you see in the photo, the top right area, that's where the education campus is located and where most of our activities take place. Still, it's a nice place and students enjoy it a lot. If you see in the next slide, Here you have a short summary of the history of the institution. You can see that it was initially a private-public partnership. It was much focused on the colonies, so that's why the name was a colonial institute. But as time changes and the situation changes, the institute has also been transforming itself and trying to reinvent, find its purpose, and to try to see what actually we can contribute to society. So in the 50s, the name of the institute changed to Royal Tropical Institute. We, more than a decade ago, we celebrate our 100th anniversary. And now we are even one step further, trying to see again, what is our role in society. So now the institute is more focusing on the SDGs. And for some of you, maybe you're familiar with this term, some of you maybe not. Those are the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are international goals. And all these colors represent the goals. But we do focus specifically on some that are related to the work that we do. So our work is linked to reduction of poverty, alleviating hunger, improving health of people, and that's the focus of the work of the health unit, within which education is embedded, gender equality, having decent work and economic growth, looking at the consumption and production in a responsible ways, and looking at partnerships and goals. So those are the focus that we have now. But also very important is that the whole building that you saw in the previous slide is also hosting a lot of other organizations, not necessarily part of KIT, but they share the interest and the objectives of working towards achieving these sustainable development goals. So it is, the building has turned into a community, no? And we call it the SDG house now. So I hope that that gives you a little bit of an idea of the evolution, very, very fast, of the institute over time. Now, within the organization KIT, we have a unit that is called the Knowledge Unit. This unit is mostly working on content, and that means advisory work, research work, capacity strengthening, collaboration, and education. And there are two components, two subunits, one that is more focusing on sustainable economic development, a lot of agricultural work there, but also gender and right issues. And the other subunit is the health subunit. And here we have basically 4 areas to work with. The first one, the one that has the letters in bold, are reflecting the work that we do in the education team with the master programs that Herman will introduce in a few minutes. But we also have 3 other teams. One that is looking at improvement of quality health services. That's the health system strengthening team. We have another one that is called the epidemiology team, and they are focusing on data for decision making and disease control. And finally, we have another team, which is the largest team, which is the sexual and reproductive health and rights team. I think I'll now give the floor to Herman to talk more.
Not a slide.
Oh, sorry, I'm missing one more slide.
Sorry.
And here in this slide, it's not to talk about in detail about all these stakeholders, but it's just to give you an idea with of the institutions, partners, sometimes clients that we work with. So you will see that KIT has different connections, both with governments, with multilateral organizations, with donors, but also with organizations in the private sector, as well as with academia. So we are in a funny position. We are not a university, we are not a donor, we are not an NGO, but we interact with all these stakeholders in different ways. Okay, so I'll give the floor to Herman now.
So let's talk about our academic offer, because we are in our institute since many years, since like 60 years, we offer master degrees, master programs. And we do that in collaboration with the VU University. So that's a collaborative effort of one of the universities based in Amsterdam under the Faculty of Science. So together with the VU, that allows us to issue degrees, the Master of Science in Public Health, the Master of Science in International Health. With the VU University, we have a combined academic boards on academic issues, examination boards on all the exam issues and rules and regulations. We use the library services of the VU, both physically and online, and some other services. They have counseling service, computer discounts services. And yeah, there's a quality assurance because the NVAO is the Dutch quality assurance organization. So every I think 6 years they come and visit, and there's a whole formal procedure to make sure that what we're doing meets the highest standards that they set. So we just had one last year, and they renewed us, renewed our, let's say, our license to have master programs for another 6 years, and that's a quality assurance system procedure. Then it's also good to mention already that we're a member of the TROPED network, which is a global network of higher education institutes, and who to each other's students share opportunities for courses, for short courses, who do peer review and also accreditation of courses and quality control, or to help each other to have the quality standards for the courses that we have. That's the general one. Then coming specifically, and I guess that many of you have come exactly for this slide, part of which you can find, of course, online on our website as well, on the details of the 2 master programs that we offer. And this is a bit of a summary and a comparison, and we're happy to answer questions and also to refer to the website, which has much more details on contents, on admission, on timelines. So one of them is the Master of Science in International Health, the other one Master of Science in Public Health. The International Health Master is what we would call an early career master, which requires 2 years of relevant work experience. So we have quite some students who have done their graduate masters not long ago. It's aiming at health professionals like medical doctors, nurses, and midwives who have been working in clinical care and want to expand that experience to a more international health at global level. So that's one, and that master consists of a 3 months core course, nicely intense, and then 6 months of specialization courses with options to do that at KITS or with other institutes in Europe and sometimes even outside Europe. But that's part of the TROPED network, and it ends with a 2 months thesis work, and that's the full-time option. And outside the OKP, for self-payers and other donors, is also a part-time option where you can do this in 5 years. That's one, that's a summary. And then to compare with the Master of Science in Public Health for the track of health systems, policy and management, that is what we call a mid-career master, where usually our applicants and students have a longer history of work experience. We require a minimum of 3 years of relevant work experience, but many have more. And they come here in their 30s and 40s to follow the master after quite some years of work experience in the domain of health. And that's broader than just the clinical doctors and nurses. There's also social scientists and education specialists and others. Take myself, I'm a social anthropologist, and I did this Master of Science in Public Health at KITS more than 20 years ago, and somehow they allowed me also, and I think it has worked out quite well. In terms of the course, the 12 months, it is the core course is a bit longer. It's 4 months, September to December, early January, and then 5 months of specialization. And that's the HSPM track, health system policy management, and then 2 months of thesis work. And that makes a full year, September to September, full-time masters in both cases. Yeah, that's the summary. I'm sure there's questions that we can answer. Then a bit of teaching methods. What we try to do is our vision of adult education, because that's what this is that we help our students to go through their learning process. Students are in charge of their own learning. We help them to do that with a series of different methodologies. And some students thrive with lectures, which we do some, but we do a lot more than that. We have case study groups, we have online assignments, we have excursions close by and further away sometimes. We do flipped classrooms where the presentation or the gist of the content is shared in advance, and then the session is about reflecting on that. Of course, there's literature to be read, but there's a lot more in terms of methods than just lectures and reading. And there's others mentioned here, like network building and visiting public health services. And in our work at KIDS, we do a lot of work outside the education domain, which is professional work in advice and consultancy and evaluation and research. And we take pride in the link between our education work and that practical work. We bring our experience from the field to our education domain, and we are happy to learn from our students who bring their experience, and we learn from them, and we can also apply it to improve our education. So there's an interchange between our other work on a day-to-day basis. We engage with improving health systems in many countries, and we engage in evaluating health systems and sexual reproductive health work and epidemiology work, etc. So we learn from that and we bring it to our education side of our work. Yeah, that's a bit what we want to share on the master courses per se. And then Fernando again will enlighten us a bit on what is nice about studying at KIDS.
Okay, so here you see an image of students from a couple years ago, if I'm not wrong. And you can see the diversity that of the group of students that we have. To make it more concrete, here a short representation to show that we do have students that come from all over the world. I have to say that I come from Peru, from Latin America, and the Latin American representation is a little bit small often, but from the rest of the world, we usually have a lot of students. You see some statistics on the left. I think on a normal year, the group will have around 25 nationalities, different professions, different levels of experience. So that makes it a very rich and diverse group for discussions. And as Herman mentioned, for us, that is very, very important. It's not about passing information, it's about discussing things and experiences and points of views and perspectives. So the diversity of the group is very important for us when making a selection. Here another example. This is a word cloud trying to put together the bigger the name of the country, the bigger the number of students that came to our courses in the past. Here you see Indonesia,
but not the biggest.
Not the biggest, but there's another one here. So it does appear, because we do have regularly quite some students from Indonesia coming. There's a big NL, those are Dutch students. We do regularly have also students from the Netherlands that are mostly doctors that are pursuing a specialization in global health. They want to work abroad, and that's why their representation is quite big. But as I was trying to mention, and Herman also indicated when we were looking at the profile of the candidates and the students in the future, we look for diversity in relation to professional background, nationality, culture, language, experience, but also the type of work, because this makes a very rich environment to learn and to discuss. Sometimes the learning process is not so much from the teacher, because the teacher or the facilitator is here to help you find your way, but it's actually what is coming from the experiences and perspectives from your classmates. We also want to mention that, well, living in the Netherlands for 1 year, we also get in contact with not only the academic part, but also the personal part, and then we get to know the different home situations of people. No, we have people with family, some students that are alone, some people that have young kids or elderly parents, and this is also part of the exchange to learn how your classmates live, where do they come from, and how does their normal life looks like. This one, you want to say something? Yeah. I think.
Now, this is just a bit of images of pictures, snapshots of student life, both in the classroom, a few, but also quite a lot outside the classroom with. Yeah, because we encourage the group to have their own social committee and organize things between them, but also in the program, we find it important to interchange classes and courses, modules with social activities. So there's excursions, there is social dinners, there is some visits to tulip fields, etc., etc. And you see some canals of Amsterdam boating. So we try to, let's say, alleviate sometimes the study pressure, which is sometimes there, with more relaxing environment and trying to push for or to invite exchanges between students in their free time and for them also to help each other. Yeah, so that's on the.
And
then finally.
And then I'll finish, because often also people that are trying to get an orientation and know what they can get from the master programs, sometimes they say, well, but where can I go afterwards? So here we have a few examples from participants that finished a few years ago. And the idea is not to tell that these are the only options, but just to give you an idea of what is possible. So we have some alumni that have finished and they got involved with management of projects, working for humanitarian organizations. We do have also others that join initially national programs, and then they move to multilateral agencies. And also we are trying to highlight a little bit in these testimonies what made the difference for them. No, so trying to, in this case, was the link between field experience and theory. That's very important for us, trying to really make use of the experience of the participants. Here is try to think out of the box in a creative way. But we also have other examples of graduates working more on research with refugees, immigrants, or in other domains. So we hope that this gives you an idea of what you can do if you follow one of these masters. But these are not the only options. There are many more. So I think with these we have spoken a lot. So we move to a round of questions and answers. If you have any questions for us, we will be happy to take them. So I think I need to stop sharing now, so we can see.
Thank you so much, Herman and Fernando, for your presentation. I think it was very clear, and I think also very insightful. Hopefully the information regarding the master program is also much clearer now for the participants. So once again, I would like to invite the participants to drop their questions in the chat box so Herman and Fernando can answer them. Or you could also raise your hand to ask your question live to our speakers if you would like to. For now, I see one question in the chat box from Nisrina, and she's saying, as you mentioned, the KIT Master Program is part of the FU Faculty of Science, but I also saw that FU has a Public Health/Global Health Master Program. What is the difference between the programs offered by FU and the programs offered by KIT? This one I think is a very interesting one since I did public health at FU, but of course I cannot compare with the KIT program. So yeah, Herman and Fernando, help us out.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the question. The VU sees the collaboration with KIT as something complementary to what they are doing, and their masters is masters for recent graduates, who have just done their graduate masters and want to take a next step. And also they accept international students, of course, but it's less international, I would say, than what we are trying to aim for. Is that the main difference, Fernando?
Yeah, and I think when you look at the Global Health Master, probably they have a very strong focus on research, which maybe is slightly different from what we offer. But yeah, the key points that Herman mentioned is about the target group in relation to the experience. We are looking for people with a little bit more experience and very, very international. No, especially if you look at the Master in Public Health, I think it is very a tiny minority, the group of students that are coming from high-income countries or even from the Netherlands. It's 99% people coming from abroad. Yeah.
Is the ratio between Dutch students and international students always kind of like 99% from internationals every year, or does it?
Yeah. Over the years, we do not have Dutch students every year. We have, and if we have one or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the how many students are there like in one class?
The batch of the MP, the Master of Public Health this year, the 12 months full time, is a batch of 51 from, I would say, 25 countries, nationalities. The MIH batch.
Yeah, that's the MIH is a little bit more difficult to say because as Herman mentioned, we offer the program as full-time, but we also have part-time students that can finish the course in up to the program up to 5 years. So the total number is usually around 40 to 45, but every year we have around 18 or 19 students that finish within 1 year. So the number is much variable there. I think for the MIH, the proportion of Dutch students is a little bit higher. So there's a difference there.
Could we say it's almost 50-50 in MIH often?
No. Maybe 1/3
okay.
maximum.
Okay.
So it's international students. Thank you for answering.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions? You can just drop your questions in the chat box, so Herman and Fernando can answer them. I also see that maybe we have an alumni. Is that correct, Ahmed Yacoub? Was that one of your students?
Ahmed, silakan.
Oh, that's very nice that you joined the session. Would you like to share something about your experience at KIT, or? Oh, yes, great. Then I think maybe one of our hosts can unmute Ahmed, if that's possible.
Hello.
Hello, Ahmed. Welcome to the session.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice that you're here.
Thank you, and thank you, Herman and Fernando. I don't know if you remember me. Herman, you were my supervisor. I'm Ahmed Yacoub from Egypt. I did my master degree since 2014, and
so 5 years ago, 7 years ago, a bit longer.
yes, it's like 8 years ago.
Okay.
So it was very good experience for us actually, and you know, most of us wanted to continue studying in the area of public health, and actually my colleagues, most of them did the PhD, and I'm one of them. I did like Egyptian board for epidemiology, and I'm currently consultant for epidemiology and public health in Saudi Arabia. So what I want to say to the new colleagues that are intending to apply for KIT, it's very useful for them. I really learned a lot in this course, and that is, I just wanted to share my experience. It's very nice experience, and thank you, Fernando and Herman.
Thank you, Ahmed. And as you know, what we usually say at KIT, we're happy to have you as an ambassador, but also we always invite you to share, your ideas about what we can do better. So we didn't invite Ahmed just to talk nice about KIT. We didn't know he was going to be here. But Ahmed, if you have anything else to share about KIT that would your future colleagues would be interested.
Yes, I think you should. It should be more than 1 year if it's possible, like NIH or.
Yeah. Maybe LPDP wants to consider extending the scholarship for more than 1 year. That's a question to the sponsors, Ahmed, because we have the request very often. But many sponsors limit themselves to 12 months scholarship.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Ahmed, for sharing.
Nice.
Do we have any more questions for our speakers from the audience?
Maybe you want to hear about the sandwiches or the weather.
Yeah, you can ask them anything about their experience, about the culture. We also have someone from the scholarship team from Nuffic Neso, so if you have questions about scholarship, then that is also very welcome. I see a hand from Arifa. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, my name is Arifa. I want to ask you a question. I graduated as Bachelor of Public Health, and I have been worked in hospital for 4 years recently as public health promoter. So, is it available to apply as the work that is related, that is required from the kit?
I don't know if it was just me, but the voice was very small.
So it was soft, but we could hear still. Thank you, Arifa.
Okay.
Your question is whether you graduated in public health and you've been working for 4 years in hospital, and whether that would qualify for admission. Well, in general terms, I would say yes. But if you look at our admission criteria, it's about the type of background studies, and it seems to be falling in that category. It's about the type and duration of your experience, which is minimum 2 years or 3 years, depending on the master you're going for. We believe that many doctors, nurses, and other health staff who work in hospitals and clinics, they also gain management experience, which is one of the things that we're looking for, management experience in public health in low and middle income countries. So in general, I would say yes, but of course we would have to see your CV plus a motivation letter, because we want everyone to also explain to us why, and indirectly to the sponsor, why you believe this is a good next step in your career, and how you will use it, and what do you see for the future for yourself, right? So that's part of the overall application procedure. But yeah, what you say in very general terms, I would say yes, it sounds like a good start for being admitted in academically, and then of course you have to still apply for scholarships, etc.
Yes, thank you for your answer, Herman.
Is that helpful, or?
Oh, she says thank you, sir. Okay, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Any more questions from the audience? Feel free to drop them in the chat box or raise your hand if you would like to ask them live. We have a question from Sally. She's asking, does the health worker on psychology field is also including in the study program?
Why don't we change Q&A position, Fernando?
Yeah, I think again, it's important to see which master program Sally is interested or is looking forward to apply. The Master in International Health. What we look for candidates are participants that are in an earlier stage in their career. We also acknowledge that there's a strong clinical focus, especially in the core course. So that's why certain professions that are more clinically oriented are preferred. For the Master in Public Health, the range is much broader. So as long as the person works within the health sector, has relevant experience, which is mostly research, some managerial experience, and has a clear motivation to join, yes, Psychology is very much accepted. So I hope that this answers your question, Sally.
I think it does.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? Is there an age limit to join this program?
Well, there's two aspects to this. One is on our side, in terms of admission, there's no age limit, but I'm aware that some sponsors in general have age limits, and I'm not sure if OKP-LPDP, what is the position on this? Maybe you could explain.
I think I have to double check, but I think we have in the audience, we have someone from the scholarship team. Mbak Okta?
Yes, I think for if you want to join the scholarship, there is an age limit of 35 years old. But there is no minimum, just maximum.
I wouldn't want to say that.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Mbak Okta.
Welcome.
Yeah, from our side, from KIDS side, the criteria that you see on the website are the only criteria that we use. So age is not considered, let's say. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Fernando, for answering. And of course, you can find the requirements and everything on the website, right? Or okay, great. Let's see if we have more questions from the participants. If not, then I have a question. Maybe this clears a bit, maybe this will clear it up for the rest of the participants, but the master programs are, the duration of them is a year. And then I was wondering, is a thesis period of 2 months, is that not, is that enough to finish your thesis? And yeah, because most of the time a thesis period is 6 months, right? So maybe you can tell us a bit more about the thesis period.
Yeah, maybe that was a bit too much a summary in that slide, because of course the thesis, I agree, the thesis needs more than 2 months. The 2 months is the final finishing period. While we start the thesis discussions, let's say if you start in September, we start this in October, November, and in January we have a final outline. Every student submits an outline of what they would want to do, the topic, the methodology, and then we assign a thesis advisor. And then from January, which is January to August, which is 8 months, you work on your thesis. You do that partly alongside the coursework. Partly we have reserved special time slots for working on the thesis. Had dedicated time. Then we have let's say peer review groups that you meet with colleagues in small groups of 6, and you present to each other and help each other to move forward, to give each other feedback. So yeah, there is work on the thesis between January and June is in parallel to other coursework, and then from mid-June to mid-August it's 2 months dedicated, like 7 weeks, 8 weeks. So that's the explanation of that. Maybe it was too summarized.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, now it's clear.
Fernando?
For example,
And that's the MPH.
yeah, the Master in Public Health students are now finishing tomorrow. They have an exam on human resources for health, but next week they will be the whole week working on the thesis. And this is partly individual work, but they also receive some sessions, and they have the chance also to meet with peers in guided discussions. So they present their work, and they can present also their challenges, and peers can help addressing or solving the issues together. No, for the Mastering International Health, full-timers, they follow more or less the same process that Herman mentioned, but we also have some students that follow the program as part-time students, and then for them it's slightly different. The milestones remain, but then we have a different program that really accommodates to their needs and availability, let's say.
And I think we have to be honest and just clarify that LPDP, I don't think is offering scholarships for the part-time option. It's only for the full-time option, right? So if you want to consider part-time, you would have to look elsewhere for scholarships. Am I saying it right?
Yes, that is correct.
Adiba?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for clearing that up for us.
Yeah.
we'll wait a bit more for if in case anybody else has some questions. We still have a bit time left for this session. So yeah, if there are questions for Herman and Fernando, please drop them in the chat box.
And if not, in the meantime, I want to make not a disclaimer, but just by chance, you have two male people presenting this. Actually, we are a minority within KIT. So if you come, you will see that there are more female colleagues than male. And so this is just a coincidence.
Yeah, I think that's the case most of the time in like the health field.
Yeah, and actually the same for, if you look at the current student batches, also we have a majority female, which is partly policy by Nuffic, partly also KIT. We encourage female leadership, etc. So, but male can still apply, and there's still, I think, 40% male, 40-60 currently, probably student population.
Okay.
But most of the staff, the majority is female, who's teaching and examining and advising. It's a majority.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And how about like doing your thesis abroad? Is that recommended from the program?
We recommend it as a nice option, but we also always say be realistic about possibilities, because usually scholarships and the tuition fee does not include funding for any traveling or field work, which means the student has usually to organize and plan for it themselves. Our program doesn't have special time dedicated to that, so you have to organize it and probably do it in June, go a few weeks back home or to some country for data collection. But then, yeah, the timeline also becomes a bit short before submission thesis. So it's possible, but it requires quite some good a good timeline management. And there's an ethical approval process that we have to do in the first quarter of the year, between February and April. And only after the ethical approval you can proceed and start organizing and doing things. But you have classes until early June. So yeah, it's possible, but it's not always practical in reality. But of course, especially since the COVID period, more and more research is done remotely. So we also have students who do theses, who do remote interviews, which have their own considerations in terms of quality and what have you, but it's possible. People have done that. So you don't always have to travel in order to add some flavor to your thesis besides literature review. So yeah, so some people combine that. They do literature review plus some interviews online, or they do secondary data analysis. Well, they don't have to travel, but they use a data set from data that have been collected in the health management information system or in research from their organization. Yeah. There's different ways to give a good flavor to your thesis.
Okay, yes, thank you for answering the question, Herman. We have a bit more time, so please drop your questions if there are still any. We'll wait a bit more.
Do you want to share?
Oh, there's a question from Yanti. Does KIT offer a short course and how to apply for it?
Yeah, so we also have the possibility to apply for short courses. The information is available in our website. There's a combination of courses that are part of the master program, and then these students will join the bigger group, the master group, while following these courses. But we also have courses that are standalone, that are focusing more on work in fragile and conflict-affected settings. We have courses focusing on geographic information systems, digital health, monitoring and evaluation, and some of them are offered both in French and in English, although most of our offers in English. So it is possible to follow courses from the master as standalone, or some of the courses that are standalone. They are all listed in the website. In relation to scholarships, there are some options, and I think the best is, depending on the place and the region, to look at the information in the website. Of course, the Dutch scholarships is one of the options there. Yep.
Thank you, Fernando.
Yeah. Oh, and
Dutch Indonesian.
I see also the how to apply for all master programs and short courses when you go to our website. And you look for a course, you identify a course that you like, you will see a button there that will allow you to click, and that will link you to our online application system. So it's an online system where you upload basically some information about your professional experience, your degrees, English competency, a motivation letter that is very important for us to know what you want to get out of this program. And based on that information, your dossier is processed and you can receive the acceptance letter or a letter that explains why you still do not fit the criteria. What is also important to know is that you don't have to send anything via postmail. Everything is digital. So if you have an access to a scanner or digital copies, then it's quite easy. And once you apply for one course, most of the documents can be used to other courses as well. Mostly you have to write another letter of motivation, obviously, because then that's specifically for one program. But everything is recycled, so you don't need to repeat the whole process again for another course.
Yes, thank you so much, Fernando, for answering. I also know that some courses at KIT are eligible for the Orange Knowledge Program scholarships. So to find more information on that, then you can always check the website of KIT for that.
Yeah. And maybe, Adiba, Fernando mentioned digital. It may be nice to say that once you're here as a student, although we still have classrooms and sessions, we also make good use of what we call a digital learning platform. So course materials are online, exams are done through that. It's done in class, but through that site. Exam results are shared through that site, etc., etc. So we make extensive use of that. Plus, of course, other online materials on YouTube and other websites. So it's really it's important for prospective students to realize that we require some basic management of digital skills.
Okay.
And the online application is the first test.
Yeah.
You manage that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Herman, for answering that question and clearing that up. Does the programs also have, like, for example, excursions or trips during the year, or is that more of a personal planning thing?
Yeah, we have some. We have some small trips, but in town in Amsterdam, in the country, as I mentioned before, tulip fields. We usually do a trip in Europe. We have been to Geneva quite some years. We're also considering whether we can continue doing that, because in the COVID period, the institutions in Geneva, you know, WHO is there and others, they no longer wanted to receive us. And post-COVID, there's quite some others who have changed their let's say their visiting policy of receiving large groups, because we usually go with a group of 60 to 80. And that has changed. So it makes us reconsider what is feasible, but also what is useful. Close out to home, we have in Brussels, we have some international institutions. We have some institutions in the Netherlands that are worthwhile. So we, in the COVID times, we linked up students with government and non-government institutions in the Netherlands who work on international public health. That was a good experience. So we could also, consider that as a way to link students with practice of work, and rather than flying somewhere. So this is a bit under discussion. Okay. The intention is to offer some form of excursion in Europe, but how far and where exactly, we are still considering.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds fun nonetheless.
Yeah.
So if there are some last questions, it's almost time. So please put them in the chat box, and Herman and Fernando can answer them. We'll wait a bit more. But if that's it, if there are no more questions, then I think we can round it up. So thank you very much, Herman and Fernando. Thank you as well for the participants for joining this info session. We have one more info session tomorrow. We will have 2 sessions during that info session, and the first one is on sustainable and circular economy, focusing on urban development and heritage restoration. So we will have 2 speakers from the University of Groningen and also Nijmegen during that session. And then the second session is on entrepreneurship. So if you're interested in one of those topics, then please check out our social media and join us tomorrow. For now, I would like to thank Herman and Fernando for their time, and also Maud, who's also joining from KIT. And thank you so much for sharing all the information with us about the program. And yeah, if you have any more questions about the scholarship, then I will drop some contact details in the chat box. So then, yeah, you can email Okta from our scholarship team or visit our website for more information. And if you want some more in-depth information about the master programs offered by KIT, then you can of course visit the website of KIT. Yeah, for now, thank you all for attending, and we hope to see some of you tomorrow. Thank you, Herman.
Terima kasih banyak, Ibu.
Sama-sama, Pak Herman. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you, and maybe see you sometime online
Yes,
or offline.
hopefully.